Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and let the age of acquisitions begin. Today we're going to talk about Bungie being acquired by Sony for $3.6 billion. So let's get into it. So yesterday a big bombshell news dropped where we learned that Bungie is being bought by Sony, as I said, for $3.6 billion. But also from Bungie, we have heard that the studio itself is going to stay relatively independent, and at least when it comes to Destiny and those kind of games, they will remain multi-platform. So of course you had a lot of questions from people asking what happened here. Is $3.6 billion too much for Bungie? Like, what is happening and why is Sony doing this? Well, obviously it's all from the business perspective. If you remember a few days back, or well, weeks, when we learned that Microsoft is going to be acquiring Activision Blizzard, I said that the gaming industry right now is making a lot of money, talking in billions, and it's actually said that by 2027 this number is going to double. So you're going to get a huge amount of people getting into gaming with their wallets, and of course you want to take the biggest, piece of that cake. And that's obviously something that both Microsoft and Sony have been doing. They're trying to establish the biggest market dominance. And of course Sony saw that when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, they lost a lot of franchises to them when it comes to the mainstream first-person shooter gaming. So for example, Halo is now on Xbox, Call of Duty is going to be on Xbox, but at the same time some of the Call of Duty games, I believe, or maybe the future, are also going to PlayStation as well. So Sony is a little bit in a trouble, and of course it's expected of them to go and acquire new studios which are going to strengthen their games, or well, their library. Now Bungie is definitely one of those companies that can do it, because even though with issues that Bungie had and everything which was happening with Bungie before, being under Activision, then going independent, and then, well, they weren't really under Activision, they more had a signed contract which expired, but nevertheless they tried being independent, that was working fine, but now they're obviously under someone new again. So for Bungie this means more money and more support from Sony to build their games, because at the end of the day, if they want to make bigger games, if they want to increase that quality of their games, they gotta have money. And right now, as an independent studio, gathering all of that money is a little bit tricky. But at the same time, I had no idea that Bungie is worth $3.6 billion, and at the same time they remain relatively independent. Whoever was doing negotiations for this deal should be paid in pots of gold, because you're a studio and you get approached by Sony and they tell you 3.6 billion and you say, well, we want to remain independent. That's insanity. So of course on that side they will use Bungie to make a new FPS game, that either being Destiny 3 or whatever they call it, but they have a studio right now which is capable of producing, their next games. And of course they will do it because they want to have as many studios and as many teams under them, well, as much as you can pay, obviously, to strengthen your library, because you want people to go to your platform, to your software, to your hardware, and to play games there. That's exactly what Microsoft has been doing. Now there is also a few reasons we can talk about here. Obviously they said that this is not the last acquisition Sony is going to do. There is going to be a next acquisition relatively soon, and some are even saying that that's going to be a bigger acquisition than it was with Bungie. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know which studio is it going to be, or is it going to be bigger or smaller, but at the same time Sony is firing back. They're striking back because they know that Microsoft is going to eat them if they don't do something. Like, you can have great games, you can make more money per year when it comes to sales, but at the same time you have to think about the future. That's something Microsoft is thinking of, and that's slowly what Sony started thinking about as well. Well, what about the future? What happens when they start releasing a lot of games? What do we do? How do we counter that? So of course, having studios on your side who are capable of, making games and who also have a history is good. But at the same time, I say this for Sony as I say for Microsoft, please utilize those studios the best, possible outcomes, because at the end of the day, you can buy stuff around, but if those studios are not utilized properly, then that's just a waste of money. I said that for Microsoft, and I will repeat that for Sony as well. And of course, we get a discussion around the actual like monopoly and what is going on. Again, every single company wants the biggest piece of that cake. Monopoly is always going to be happening. You'll always have shifts where certain companies are going to be more profitable or better than other companies, and this wheel is going to turn 365 every single year, and every single year you're going to have a different company on top. Now people forget, and I had this discussion on my Discord, which I recommend you join, and where someone mentioned like, what about Meta, Facebook, what about Amazon, what about Google? They also want to slowly start going into games. Now when you have Amazon, a company this big, imagine what will happen when they come with pots of gold. Amazon is also very much capable of buying out huge studios to work under them. So if you ask me, I think both Sony and Microsoft are a little bit worried when it comes to these other corporations, because they know these other corporations also have the cash. They also have the resources to buy out some of the biggest studios out in the world, so they can just make games for them. But obviously for Facebook and for, let's say, Amazon, things are a little bit different because they don't really have consoles. Like on this side you have Xbox, which has their Xbox console and their ecosystem. On the other side you have Sony and their ecosystem. And then Amazon and Meta, they don't really have, you know, hardware. They would just buy out studios so they can make games to make money. That's just how things work for them. If it's profitable, they will get it. If it's not, they won't. Because I was actually surprised why Amazon hasn't gotten into games a little bit more. I mean, they have New World, they have Lost Ark coming out, but at the same time, like, when are you gonna start buying up studios? Something smells fishy when it comes to that. So honestly, I don't think, like, obviously, yes, there is a huge competition between Sony and Microsoft, but at the same time, I think, and a lot of people agree with that, is that, you know, there is a huge problem coming from other corporations who are getting into this space, because the amount of money which is going around in gaming is intense. Like, it's huge. So what does this mean for Destiny? Look, I'm not a huge Destiny player. I played Destiny when it came out, and I took a huge break off of it, and I returned to Destiny like a few weeks ago, and I'm gonna be honest, it's a little bit confusing. Like, there's so many more systems and worlds and elements and expansions to just check out, and every single time that I log into Destiny 2, I get transported into a different universe, and I'm doing one story, I relog, I'm doing a different story, I don't know what is happening. So from that sense, the game is a little bit confusing. What I want to see from this acquisition is that Bungie kind of takes Destiny 2 and, you know, makes it a little bit more welcoming to new players, because that's how you will attract new people. Because Destiny is Destiny. Look, it had its ups and downs. They removed its existing content. They did a lot of stuff which wasn't right, but at the same time, the game in a nutshell, like, I played it a little bit, as I said yesterday as well, and it's good. Like, it's fun to play. Like, Destiny was always fun to play because they mastered, like, the shooting elements, the movements and everything. It's fun, you know. The game presentation wise is getting better and better with each expansion that they put out, but even that is confusing. Like, I got into the game, there's so many different expansions and packs you can buy. I honestly didn't know what I was buying, or what part of the game is that. Am I buying a new content or am I buying old content? Keep in mind, you have people who are not following all of the news about the game, so if they're confused, like, then you kind of have to change that, because you won't have new people in the game. So I hope that changes. I hope you know, Destiny 2 is going to kind of rebalance itself in terms of new players, so just so that new people can see that this game actually is pretty decent, you know. But at the same time, you know, Bungie is still a company which is capable of producing games, so I wouldn't be surprised if they develop a Sony a new first-person shooter for their console only. Again, is it going to be Destiny 3 or is it going to be something else? I don't know. There were also people asking if now Sony owns Halo. No, they don't. So Halo was developed by Bungie, but Halo as a property, as a franchise, is owned by Microsoft and managed by 343 Industries, who made Halo Infinite. So no, Bungie does not have Halo and Sony does not have Halo under them. That license is strictly belongs to Microsoft. Bungie does own Destiny license though, and now Sony owns the entire Destiny franchise. And I'm sure they want to branch out into different things when it comes to Destiny. I'm sure that they were thinking about making a TV series or a film, you know, regarding Destiny, because that's just how companies will do now. You have multi-platform, multi-brand releases on all forms of media, from cinema to games to your Netflix to whatever. You saw Cyberpunk is doing that with, you know, Netflix anime. You have The Witcher show, like so many more things which were happening and which are happening in gaming industry, which are not only connected to gaming. So when you're buying a studio, you're not just buying, you know, Destiny as a game, you're buying a lot of new stuff, you're buying people, you're buying this, you're buying that. So how is this going to pan out in the future? Hopefully good. Hopefully for both, you know, Microsoft side and both Sony side. Utilize these studios right, and, you know, if you don't, then why bother purchasing them? That's just my opinion. And that's generally what I think about it. So tell me down below, what do you think about this acquisition? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Like, what are your overall thoughts? And do you think that 3.6 billion is a lot of money for the studio? But trust me, no one is stupid in Sony. Like, a person making a decision to spend 3.6 billion, they did all sorts of analysis and tests, and if they're going to profit off of it. No one's going to spend 3.6 billion just to be broke. Trust me. So they have a plan with them, and we'll see what that plan is going to be. But at least, you know, this is good. And that's why I tell you, console wars are pathetic and useless. Useless. Because if you want your platform, the one that you play on, being that Sony or Microsoft, to produce the best games, they need some fire under their behind. Because the sole reason why Microsoft is doing all of this is because Sony was kicking them. So now when Microsoft does this, Sony has to say, oh, now we have to work harder. And at the end of the day, it's the people who are benefiting. Now, of course, some things are going to stay exclusive. I'm also against that, but I also understand why it's done. It's the business side. You want as much people on your platform and not your competitor's platform. That's just how it is for both Sony and Microsoft. But don't say that them going off on each other is not good, because at the end of the day, you as an end user profit, because they have to now work double the amount that they worked before in order to maintain people on their platform. That's good. That's not bad. The more you protect your studios, the lazier they will become, because they'll say, we have no competition. Why is there a need to do better? There is no need. We own you. So yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me down below what you think about this. And also don't forget to click that subscribe and like button if you enjoyed the video. Also check us out on Twitter and Discord if you want to continue the discussion there. And also huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. This is LKM signing out. Stay classy everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.